Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rankus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Kristen Humiston, a passionate therapist, coach, and mom of 6 who brings both clinical experience and lived experience to the work of healing. She's a licensed advanced practice social worker who is certified in brain spotting and EMDR, and her specialty is working with trauma and stress-related challenges, including PTSD, anxiety, relational problems, and spiritual wounding. She tells her story more in episode 1, but Kristen's journey started in the music world as she owned a music studio for over 20 years while homeschooling. Then, in 2019, after a season of personal and family trauma and healing, Kristen felt drawn to pursue therapy as a career. Today, she helps women and couples rediscover their worth and step into their strength with courage and clarity through her Appleton-based business, Courageous Healing Therapy. Kristen loves to learn new things, and with kids ranging from 9 to 21 years old, her most recent hobbies include being a sports mom chauffeur, pottery classes, relearning 5th grade math, and spending time with her husband. All right, it's time to invite Kristen to the mic, so let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Motherhood Alliance podcast. We are super excited to be kicking off a new series with Kristen. Welcome, Kristen, to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, we are going to be talking a lot about mental health, specifically to moms in some of these episodes, but Kristen also loves to work with couples as well. And then in episode 4, we're going to be talking about something you may have heard of, but you don't know much about, which is brain spotting and EMDR. So I love that we're going to be diving into an entire episode on that. But before we get started, let's talk about your fun fact. Not gonna lie, made me giggle a little bit, but you shared a couple of them. You love renting cars, and you also love the smell of office supply stores. Tell us about both of these.
Yeah, I love renting cars. You had said earlier before we started recording, it means adventure awaits, and absolutely. Plus, it's super clean.
Yes.
The only opportunity to ride in a super clean car right now.
It smells good too.
It smells fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, and then the office supply store one.
Who doesn't love the smell of office supply stores?
That's like it's another thing for me too. I think like it's like fresh paper and like clean office things.
I think that's the theme, right? Fresh, new, adventurous, like blank slate.
Blank slate. Mm-hmm. That's it right there.
New perspective. I think a lot of people could actually relate to that. So awesome. And then we are also love to start with hearing about your journey. So you are now a therapist, but you didn't start out that way. You didn't initially go to school for that. So can you walk us through your journey a little bit and what led you to doing what you are today?
Sure. I think all of these pieces that I want to share are important in the work I do today. So I grew up as a pastor's kid in a ministry home, and that shaped a lot of what I do today, who I became. And in late high school, early adult years, experienced some very significant acute traumas with accident and one which I won't mention just because we want listeners to be able to stay regulated. But throughout that, I loved music, and I loved expressing myself through music, writing music by the time I was, in high school and beyond. And so I just felt like it was natural to go into music. And I did that, owned and operated my own studio for about 20 years. And then we had a family trauma that was pretty significant and landed us without a home, without income, all sorts of things with 6 little kids. And so through my own healing and that process, experiencing that trauma, realized this thread that actually had been woven throughout my childhood and in through adulthood which was always loving to sit with the hurting. And I had had lots of opportunities to do that. And so watching my own growth and my own movement throughout the struggles that I had as a child and as a parent, as a mama, homeschooling mama for many years, I recognized the power that healing can bring to our everyday lives, to our marriage relationships, to our friendships, to the way we showed up in the world, and the impact that actually has on home, on work. Again, just what we believe about ourselves is so key to how we move through the world. And a lot of people are missing that, those pieces that help them have confidence.
And so then you had to totally go back to school to start this new career.
And challenge all of those thoughts about myself in a new way.
Yeah.
So it was an awesome opportunity to do that and to continue healing in that. So
yeah, and you started out in the coaching realm and now you are in the therapy realm. So just really quick, give us a brief overview of who you love to work with.
Yeah, I love to work with women and couples, women especially because it's a lot of my own story, right? Moving from that hurting to thriving and flourishing.
And you said you're a mom of 6 kids. So what are their ages right now?
Yeah, right now, 9 to 21.
Okay, so you have a wide range of just different levels and hormones and all the things.
Yep, my oldest just got married this last year, so I'm a mother-in-law. I don't know. It's a weird term to think about.
Just wait till grandma comes along, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And in this episode, we're going to be talking a bit about kind of normalizing the need for healing in motherhood. Motherhood is a hard journey. It can feel very lonely. It can be very beautiful, but I would agree that I think that there are a lot of hidden feelings that people are not bringing up. So let's kind of start at the beginning. Why do you think that so many moms are struggling with? It could be they realize they're struggling with mental health challenges, but maybe they don't feel like they have the time to see somebody about it. But I think a lot of women are struggling with just this like deep angst and anxiety of A, losing themselves a little bit within motherhood, but then B, like not knowing who to turn to. So tell us a little bit about where you feel like the struggle is for women.
Yeah, I agree. I see that a lot, losing themselves. Who am I? And many times we're becoming moms, midlife. We haven't figured out who we are anyway.
Right, yeah.
And then an expectation that we should have figured out who we are and we should be better at this. Along with, I didn't want to be like my mom. I didn't want to be like my dad. I swore I was going to not do this to my kids. And we often find those repeated patterns because they are ingrained in so many ways in us. So just that constant demand that motherhood puts on us highlights and brings out a lot of the, didn't have time, wasn't going to address it earlier, childhood things that then lay on top and are like floating around in our brain while we're just trying to go to soccer practice or the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be diving into an entire episode specifically on that, which I'm really excited about, of just how our upbringing really shapes who we are as parents, but it doesn't have to at the same time.
Right.
But you also talk about death by 1,000 paper cuts, which is a really scary sounding thing, but can you break this down for us? And then as well as what does that look like compared to motherhood?
Yeah. Death by 1,000 paper cuts is all those small ways that our personhood is kind of poked at, and we shrink. We become small in our life, sometimes because, again, motherhood, we have to put sometimes our own needs on the back burner, right? But that death by 1,000 paper cuts can be the emotional experiences and connection that you aren't getting, either with your spouse, partner, with your children. If you struggle to connect emotionally with your children and you sense that every time you put them to bed, it's all the negative self-talk that you are saying against yourself as well. Oftentimes old messages that were explicitly told to you before, yet now you hear them in your own voice.
Well, and I would even add to that, social media and the world that we live in is
guilt.
Constantly telling us that we're not enough.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another area I think a lot of women struggle with is friendship. Like you think about back in high school times, you probably had best friends. You told them everything. You would have multi-hour conversations after school. You would just do so many things. And then motherhood hits, and now you have friends that even if they're in the same season of life as you and they're having kids as well, they're doing cloth diapering and you're not. And you just feel like this like slight judgmental feeling. So how do you recommend women navigate through that challenge?
Yeah, I see this a lot in the office, and man, what a challenge to not compare, and what a challenge to learn not to judge. And the only solution I have seen in that realm is to really learn to love who you are, to become able to accept your bent, your personality, your quirks, your preferences, to become like okay and more confident with, yeah, I don't cloth diaper. That's okay, right? I'm not able to breastfeed. I had a breast reduction in high school. And so I had this, well, she can breastfeed without a problem. And is something wrong with me? Yeah, clearly something's wrong with me. I can't provide this for my child. And it's so tempting to feel like we're not enough, like what we have is less than. And again, the root of that is learning to love yourself, who you are, embrace that, and it brings so much freedom because the comparison can fall away.
That brings just like this feeling. I feel like when you just said that, the comparison can fall away, it just brought this feeling of lightness, like at least into my body, just hope and stuff like that. I think a lot of women feel like they don't qualify for healing or support from a professional standpoint unless they've had like a major trauma. Can you walk us through who should be seeking help? What are maybe some signs and symptoms, and help us kind of debunk that?
Yeah. Can I start with a kind of a lay term of mental health?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is really that ability to cope with normal stresses of everyday life and maintain fulfilling, sustaining, and satisfying relationships, be able to contribute to your family functionally, but again, in that way that brings fulfillment and satisfaction to you as well, and to your community. And so it's a whole body experience, emotional, mental, relational. But with that, again, that key part is ability to respond and cope with everyday normal stresses. Mm-hmm. And so when we chronically or constantly find ourselves overreacting, really irritable, I call it leaking. We might go over that in a future episode, where we're just emotionally spilling out onto those around us. That's a pretty key sign that, hey, I'm not actually able to respond well to everyday life stressors, because life is going to happen and it's going to throw all sorts of curveballs. And when that's bringing up anxiety, not able to sleep at night, like our mind's just never shutting off. We never, we wake up and we're tired, like our body never actually rested. Those are some signs that, hey, it's probably time to pay attention here.
What are some things that women can start with today? Like if they're listening to this, and maybe there's going to be women who are going through some major challenges, and then there's going to be some who are kind of just reflecting and identifying with what you just said, where it's like, I snap at my kids really easily and I feel like I'm just holding on to these things. Is there anything that they can do even today to help try and start release some of that, or just get in tune with themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, just the power of a pause.
Oh, yeah.
The pause, it's so hard, right? We go in the shower depending on motherhood stage and we can't even go in the shower without, little hands coming underneath, or they figured out how to unlock the door. And so they're coming in, mommy, I need whatever, and they're pulling back the curtain, whatever. So the pause is hard, but it's necessary. Where and how can you find your pause? And then some other everyday things that we all can do is drink enough water, right? Have proper nutrition. So swap out the grapes, swap out the chocolate with the grapes. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. We know why we want chocolate. It's a really good dopamine hit right away. But movement. Young mamas are getting in lots of movement naturally. If we're in kind of the working mom mode where we're going to work, kids are in school or daycare, that's a lot of sitting. And so and you've talked about this in other episodes as well with other practitioners, where can you get movement? I do squats in between seeing clients because I do a lot of sitting otherwise, but movement is necessary. And again, that time space for just a pause, and the pause can be 2 minutes. It can be 5 minutes. And my last one, release your muscles. Like I say, relax your jaw and the rest will follow. So you can do that every time you're driving. Totally relax your muscles and just, keep your hands on the steering wheel, obviously, but relaxing your whole body, it helps to reset the nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember doing a specific, I think it was like a 10-minute, it was called a meditation, but it's really just like going through your body. And if you just like lay down, if you have the capacity to do it, where you just start at one end of your body and you start with your toes and you try and you bring your brain to that area in order to relax it. Because even as you're saying that, I think a lot of people be like, I'm relaxed. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I'm sitting here, I'm breathing, I'm relaxed. And then you're like, how come your shoulders are so high up by your ears? And you're like, oh yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So it actually takes like some learning and some practice to be able to do that.
I know I do that with my kids if they're having trouble sleeping. We call it like dust. So the dust goes down to their toes and they relax their toes and it goes all the way up. And if I do that for myself, I find myself a lot more relaxed too. It really does help. Yeah.
Changing subjects just a little bit here, but a lot of us have friends that are also mothers. And so I think a lot of times you can just tell when someone is off, maybe not acting like themselves. What would be a good question to ask a friend to just do a check-in and see how they're truly doing and maybe get them to open up a little bit and not give that surface level fine?
Yeah, I think it is checking in on the last time they paused.
That's a good question. It's just, when was the last time you paused?
When was the last time you took a breath?
Yep. When is the last time you relaxed your stomach, your core?
Your glutes. If you're squeezing your glutes, your butt muscles, that really gets
the
you.
pelvic floor muscles are the number one gateway. If they're relaxed, our body can't be relaxed muscle. Our muscle body can't be relaxed and simultaneously be anxious. So if we're having brain fog or memory, or we're like not able to think clearly, right, and like grasp, sometimes we forget words, it's a very likely sign that your body's kind of living up here in that fight flight. And muscle relaxation is going to be the quickest way to bring your body out of the fight flight, which can then bring your ability to access your prefrontal cortex with your language and executive functioning, all of those things.
Another one that I have been trying to do lately is, you ever meet a person and they just are smiling all the time and you're like, I want to be like that person. Like, and part of it is like, I want the joy in my life that I see them portraying. But part of me is like, I just want to smile more. Like, I think a lot of us are naturally just a little bit more, what's the word?
What's a nice word?
Yeah, what's the nice word? Serious faced, I guess. And so in the mornings, I've been going for walks almost every morning that I can, and just short ones just around the neighborhood. But I'm actually awkwardly smiling while I walk, like forcing myself to do it. Because if you're just sitting right now here listening and you just smile, that just totally changes the way that your body feels. At least it does for me. So
you might feel weird about it. You might look weird, but who cares, right?
You know what? But it's also at the same time,
right?
if you look around and you notice the small percentage of people that do smile in their everyday life, like if there's a singer and they smile while they're singing, they look joyful and natural. It doesn't look weird. So I think you can figure out how to do that.
And it brings a smile to your face because we have those mirror neurons, right? That are like cause us, you smile. Oh, I'm going to smile. I'm going to find something in me smiling, even if it doesn't necessarily make my muscles change on my face, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's talk briefly in this episode about our kiddos' behavior, because especially when they're, well, I shouldn't even say especially, even when they're school aged, they don't have to be little. They can still trigger us. And it might be some deeper trauma that we're going to be talking about in some other episodes, but it might just be, I'm out of patience today and I am touched out. So do you have any tips for parents who are listening on what to do in the moments when you feel like the steam is starting to come out of your ears?
Yeah, it goes back to that very moment. We're likely not going to feel like reaching over and hugging our kid, which may be a very practical solution. If they're getting too much, they're also probably feeling too much inside. And so for some kids, that's actually what they need in that moment. It can feel very difficult to do that or to even think of it. So depending on where you are in your rise of anxiety inside or stress, right, it really goes back to relaxing your muscles because it is the most instantaneous relief bringer for you as the adult. And when you can relax even just your jaw or your shoulders, like sometimes I'll just think if I'm getting stressed, standing in the kitchen and however many kids have come in needing something, okay, like, oh, can I feel the weight going through my fingertips as I'm standing here? Because it helps my shoulders relax. And then naturally we just go,
take that pause.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've had that breath. And then it brings us back to like be able to respond the way we want to as parents.
And you talk about something called the beauty hunt. You invite women to come on this beauty hunt, and that it instantly makes me smile. I'm curious to learn more about that as well. Can you explain what the beauty hunt is?
Yeah. Beauty hunting is a coin termed by Andi Kolber. She is a therapist that has written several books, Try Harder, Nope, Try Softer. There we go. And Strong Like Water. I highly recommend them. And it is the practice of looking for something that brings us beauty. Delight is an emotion which is like a combination of joy and surprise, and that actually turns on a cascade of chemicals that flood our body in all the positive ways. And so when we look for even the smallest thing, I'm looking out the window and I can see the sun causing a stone to glint and shine. So I'm seeing some glimmer out there. And when we reflect just for even a few seconds on something that's beautiful around us, it brings that positive cascade of chemicals into our body and can change our whole internal world.
I feel like it just grounds you, right? Just brings you back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Even if you're having a hard time finding beauty or something to be thankful for within your own life, like you can look around and hunt for it.
Hunt
like
for
you're
it.
Saying.
The smallest thing. Yeah.
I love that. Well, to close out this episode, I would love to just leave with some encouragement for a mama who is feeling like she identified with some of the struggles we talked about. She's just feeling bogged down by this season of motherhood that she's in specifically. Maybe it's some past experiences that have been coming up in her mind. So for the mom who's listening right now and is just thinking, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, I probably should talk to someone, I don't have time, I don't know what to do. How would you encourage her?
I would say, Mom, you're doing a really good job. Your work is hard and valuable, and you're doing a great job at it. And then I would say, can you get a nap? Because that's often what mamas need. Start where you are. Go back to those things that we mentioned a few minutes ago with water or beauty hunting. And she may be on her couch right now, half in tears. What is one thing she can see around her that she could focus on, that just for a moment brings a little bit of beauty into her life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do want to mention and talk about some of the things that you offer as well. And you do offer one-on-one coaching or therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But then you also offer something called intensives. Can you tell us a little bit about what those each are and the difference?
Yes. The one-to-one therapy is in that normal setting of 60 minutes or a little bit less, and is for anyone. Oftentimes we see insurances used in that setting. An intensive is a self-pay service and is for that woman who is a deep processor, wants to be able to get in and process the thing that's been keeping her stuck, and then get out and return to normal life. And so an intensive can be anything from 2.5 hours to half day, full day. And I offer intensives, have one coming up soon that are a couple days long. And it's, again, specifically either I don't have time to address this in my regular life, I'm afraid of what it would open up, or just the time frame of like, I can't get a weekly session in or every other week, but in my life, maybe teacher or however work operates, I can set aside this time, go in, process the thing, clear it, and move on with life.
I love the idea of that, because just what you're saying, mom life is busy life, right? And a lot of women are needing to get babysitters depending on what season they're in. And so it's a lot easier to get, hey, I'm going to have someone come over for a half day instead of every Monday, I need someone from this time to this time. And then you also do this for couples as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So same concept, which can be a really great way. Couples need that space to step away from life and be able, again, to work through the conflicts, the patterns, and have an opportunity to practice new ways of communicating, especially, and being together. And so stepping away from life, having a little bit longer time frame to do that is highly beneficial.
Great. We will link to everything related to you in the show notes, your website, your social media, all of those things. But we are excited to dive into our next episodes together. And just to give you guys a heads up and get you kind of on the seat of your chairs for these next ones, she mentioned the leaking piece in this episode. We're going to be diving into that in our next episode. So that's going to be really great and really honing in on how our upbringing shapes us as parents. And then in episode 3, we're going to be talking about highly sensitive motherhood and just how women and men really who are highly sensitive, just some tips and tricks on navigating motherhood with that. And then in episode 4, like I mentioned, we'll be diving into brain spotting and EMDR. So these are going to be some really great episodes. We're so thankful for you, Kristen, and we can't wait for the next one. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.